Welcome to the Caregivers Coaching Corner. I'm Dementia Coach Diane, and I'm sharing my journey as I care for my husband Ben, who's living at home with Lewy body dementia. And here's where we talk about all aspects of caregiving, dementia care, and self care, because all really matter. And I do my best to take topics that have come from you, the caregiving community, and share my experience, but I'm trusting that you will share your experience as we go, because together as a community, we've got this. Now, one of the things that was a huge change for us when Ben's symptoms of dementia started to progress rather rapidly was just going out in public. So, this particular series is called Out in the World: How to Make Public Outings Easier and More Comfortable, and hopefully more enjoyable for both you and your loved one. And in this first video, I want to talk about why it's difficult for our loved ones to experience what used to be, a simple outing to the store or out to dinner. And then in the next video, I want to talk about accommodations that we can make for them as their primary caregivers, or things that we can also ask for from the public. And then in the third video, I want to talk about car rides in particular, because that's something that, again, there are some simple things that you can do that really can make it easier and more fun, and at least for us, have become a really peaceful part of our day. So I hope you'll stay for the whole series, but let's focus first of all on why normal outings are no longer easy for those who are living with dementia. So if you think about it, changes in sensory processing are one of the first things that happens. At least it did for Ben, because dementia is going to affect the way the brain filters sound and light and movement. For example, like a loud coffee grinder at a Starbucks could actually sound like a jackhammer to our loved ones, or like flickering fluorescent lights in a grocery store could really trigger them. So these are things that, again, we just take for granted and aren't even thinking about. And then all of a sudden our loved one is, getting upset and we don't know why. And it could very simply be sound, light, or movement. And this, overstimulation is real. Sometimes we often hear, about trying to calm someone down by using reason or logic. Like, what's the matter? There's nothing to be afraid of here. Like, why are you so upset? But we don't know what it's like for them and how much it might scare them to, all of a sudden hear the banging of the grocery carts. I mean, there are things that are just, the noise pollution is a very real thing, and I'm so much more aware of it now. So as I said, they're not trying to be difficult and they're not trying to make your life miserable. They're just really uncomfortable. So, I mean, something as simple like a trip to the post office could seem totally chaotic to them. They also may not be able to tune out background noise or conversation the way they used to. And so that can be very confusing. So you're speaking to them and you think they're just not paying attention, when in truth, they just can't sort your voice out from everything else that's going on around them. I took Ben for a haircut. This was actually early on this journey. And, he couldn't filter out the directions I was trying to give him in terms of where to go and where to sit, from the hum of the hair dryers and the chattering of the stylists, the smell of the chemicals. So it was a really confusing environment for him. And I've since learned to make some changes there. Also, we have to consider just the very idea of the loss of routine and predictability. Even if your loved one used to enjoy outings, sometimes as dementia progresses, it can just become too much for them. And it can be confusing for us, of course, because maybe just last week, it seemed like everything was fine when you took them out to the same restaurant that you've always gone to and you sat in the same place, but all of a sudden now, for some reason, it's just too much. So we need to just consider that the brain is going to have a harder time processing all of that incoming stimuli, and all of a sudden what used to be routine is not for them anymore. And then, we have to consider something, again, as simple as going out in the car. The noise, of course, of just traffic, the movement of the scenery, other cars coming in and out, they could just feel out of control. And that can really start to increase their agitation. And I know for Ben, like once he started to get agitated, it was almost like, a snowball. And it would just get worse and worse and worse, even if it was, one thing that triggered him. And then even if it calmed down, once that agitation started, it would get worse. And I know he started to get really claustrophobic in the car, and he would say, like, I need to get out, I need to get out. And we came to a stoplight and he started to get out of the car. So it was really scary for me when our journey first started, because it just felt like everything was going totally haywire. So if you're in that space right now and that's the way you're feeling, hang on, stay tuned. In the next video, I'll share some of the things that we've done to help accommodate the changes that Ben is experiencing, how things have started to calm down, some of the new routines that we have put in place that have really helped, and how, we're able to go out in public, certainly not the way we used to. I don't, for instance, take him to family gatherings personally because he doesn't actually have any family. I have siblings and I have nieces and nephews that, of course, my siblings in particular, he's known since, we were 18 and 20. So he's grown up with them. But I ask people to come to us at this point so that he can be in his familiar environment and they can come to us. So that's probably a topic, again, for a whole other video. I'll go a little bit deeper into the whole idea of staying connected with family and friends and how to do that. But in general, in terms of this whole idea of public outings, I minimize them for him as much as I can and ask people to come to us so that we can still interact, but we can do it in an environment that I can control a little better for him and where he feels safer and more familiar. So I'm hoping some of this was helpful, at least to start to consider what might be going on with your loved one and to recognize that they are not trying to be difficult and they're certainly not trying to cause you a problem. It's just that what used to be something that was comfortable or, that we all took for granted has now become extremely uncomfortable for them. Thank you for listening. Give it a thumbs up again if this is helpful. Add your own comments in terms of situations perhaps that you've experienced with your loved one. And stay tuned for the next video in this series called Out in the World, and how we can ask for accommodations from local businesses and different service organizations to help us help our loved one. Stay tuned.